years younger than Tom. Tom is T years old. How old is Geraldine? And also, if Stephen, oh my gosh, these are the stuff of nightmares for me. If Stephen is twice as old as Gerald, it just says to write expressions, and it doesn't say to solve it. You just have to come up with the equations that represent it, right? So that's the first step, is coming up with an equation. So I'm going to say, they gave us Tom, right?
So we have
I'm going to say Tom equals T years. That's where I would start. And then what did they say about Geraldine? She is 4 years younger than Tom. How would you write that?
Who is 4 years younger than me?
Geraldine is 4. They told us in the middle that Tom is...
T minus 4.
Yeah, so Tom's age, because she's 4 years younger than Tom, then we're going to say, I would say G equals T minus 4. So Geraldine is T minus 4. So you just have to really think about it. If Tom is T and Geraldine is 4 years younger, then Geraldine is T minus 4. And if Stephen is twice as old as Geraldine, how old is he? So now we have to come up with what an S is. S Stephen, what does it say his clue is? He's twice the age of Geraldine. What's Geraldine?
4.
Nope, she's not 4. She's...
Oh, 4 years younger than Tom.
She's T minus 4, right? I'm going to put that like that. If she's that, and he's twice her, then how would we write it?
S
equals... And it has to be 2 of these, right? So what would be a good way to write 2 of these? I would put 2 times T minus 4. Or you could say T minus 4 plus T minus 4, right? If he is 2 times her age, then you could either say, okay, I'm going to add 2 of these together, or I could write it like this. Does that make sense, you guys? Yeah, those are hard. So to answer this one, you should have Geraldine equals T minus 4 somewhere, and that Stephen is 2 times T minus 4. That would be the best answers for A. All right, let's think about B. 150 people went to see Ode to Algebra. Oh, that sounds like a great show. I would love to see that. It was performed in the school auditorium. So how many total people went? I'm going to kind of write that down. 150 people. If the number of children that attended was C, C equals children. I'm just kind of like trying to write all the clues and see what I'm going to need to use. How many adults attended? All right, so we know the total was 150, and we know that C equals children, so how can we write how many adults attended? Well, how would we write the total amount? There would only be 2 types of people that went, right? There would be children plus A equals 150. That's to figure out how many went. But does that answer how many adults attended? No, we needed to say A equals something, right? To show how many adults attended. Using this, can you guys see how you would get A? There's 2 ways you can do it.
By subtracting the total amount and the number of children?
Not the total amount. You're on the right track though. If you take, that's a great way of doing it. If we take C away, right?
Yeah.
Then we'll have A left over here, because those cancel out, and it'll be 150 minus C. And does that make sense? The whole amount of people who went minus the kids is going to give you the adults, right? So Cameron, you just did it algebraically by saying I'm going to get A by itself by taking C away from both sides, and that's exactly what you would do. Or you could think to yourself in your mind, well, to know the adults, I would have to take the total and take the children away. That makes sense logically too. All right, so that's that one. All right, see what you can do with C on your own, and then we'll talk about it. Just read it and see what you can do. This one's more multiplying. That's what I started out too. I said to myself, okay, a CD is $14.95, a video is $39.95. That's what they're telling us, but they want to know how much would CCDs be? What does C stand for? A number, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like it could be 8. How many would 8 CDs stand for? So how would you find that out? You would multiply, right? So if they said how many CCDs, that would just be $14.95, the price of one times the number. So that would be, you don't even have to put that dot in there really, because that, you know that it's multiplication. So to find out CCDs, it would be $14.95 C. Does that make sense? And the same
Kinda.
thing, and V for video games is really just any number, right? It could be 10, it could be 100, it could be 1. How many would V video games cost? How would you write that? $39.99
V.
V times however many. Yeah, so those are the two answers for C. $14.95 C and $39.99 V.
Hold on.
Okay, the next one is the hardest one of all, but then we'll be done with these kind of problems, so I know you'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah, I hate these.
They're hard. You will have to do some on tests, but it won't be everything. If you could just work through them, you might miss one or two, but
Or all of them.
all right. Let's read through 26 and you guys tell me if you have any clue what to do. Nina has some nickels and 9 pennies. Her friend Maurice has twice as many nickels as Nina. Together, these coins are all worth 84 cents. And we have to figure out how many nickels she has. Show your work and label your answers. Well, what do we know? What's something we can say we definitely know from all that?
She's
And-
9 pennies.
Okay, yeah.
And that all the nickels are worth 84 cents.
It says all, not just the nickels, all the
All the coins
coins.
together.
So I'm going to start with that and say equals 84 cents. Everything added together is going to equal 84 cents. The total is 84. And they want us to tell them how many nickels she has, right? So I'm going to also say that N equals nickels, because that's what we're trying to find. I'm going to let N be nickels. Let N equal nickels. Okay. What else? So, do we know how many nickels she has? We don't, do
No.
we? We don't. So we probably should say,
She's half as many as Nina.
we could say that N plus 9 equals 84, right? Because we don't know how many nickels she has. But what do we also have to put in front of the N? How much are nickels worth? Because this is worth, these are worth 1 each. But how many
5.
are, yeah, so let's put a 5 in front of that. So 5N plus 9, that's part of what we have that all totals together, but we gotta remember her friend, right? Somebody tell me how you would write the friend's amount of money. She has twice as many nickels. So this is,
So 10N?
yes! Or you could say 2 times 5N for the friend. Good job, Cameron. You know what I mean? Because the friend has twice, this is, what's her name? This is Nina's amount. She has 5 cents times we don't know how many. And this is the friend. The friend has twice as many as her. So you could either write it 2 times her amount, or you could have, you distributed and said 10N, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that up there. Now can we solve it? 5N plus 9 plus 10N equals 84 cents. We can. So what do we need to do? Combine our terms.
Yeah.
Which is
15.
15N plus 9 equals 84. And then we want to get N by itself.
So
Subtract 9.
Subtract 9 from both sides. 15N equals, who can do that in their head, or do we need a calculator? Oh gosh.
75.
75, that seems like an easy number to divide by 15. So N equals
No, it's more
I
than
don't
6.
know. Here, I think you're right on the 75 divided by 15. 5. So N equals 5. She has 5 nickels. Is that all they asked us? So we'll
I
say
believe so.
Together these coins, how many nickels? Yeah, that's all they asked. Make sure you read through the problem, make sure you're answering what they tell you. Okay, the rest of them are gonna be easy compared to those. Those really need your brain. Need a graph, yep.
Thank you.
Alright, what kind of graph is it gonna be? Can you look at the equation and tell me what it's gonna look like?
Parabola.
Parabola. The x squared is our clue. What kind of parabola? Can you even be more specific?
Negative.
Yes, which means is it going to,
Up and down.
it's gonna open down, yeah. So we know that its shape is gonna be like that, right? Because of that negative x squared in there. Good. So I'm just gonna give you guys the table. But let's think about how we would figure it out. So if they tell you to graph an equation, you have to start writing yourself a what? A table, right? That's the first step. Do you get to pick the points? Yes, I would start with a few negatives, like this, and then go all the way up to 6. 4, 5, 6. So start with -3 and go to 6, and we won't do all of them. I'm going to give them some of them, but we'll do 1 and 2 to see how it works, so you know what to do on the test.
Well, I'm just trying to make the chart. I didn't make it big enough.
Something funny, Nick. Jaden wants to ask you something, but she's scared.
Ask me.
Because she's scared of sophomores, she said. So next time she said, I think it's something you were watching on your phone that she wants to ask you a question about. And after you left, she goes, I want to ask him about that, but I'm scared. I'm like, ask him. He's a cool guy. He'll tell you. So then she forgot last time. So next time she's in here, we'll have to have her ask you what it is. She's like, I'm scared of talking to sophomores. I'm like, don't be scared of Nick. Nick's cool.
Don't be scared of sophomores in general.
All right, so how would we decide? We arbitrarily set this up and say we want some negative numbers and we want some positive numbers to make a table to graph that equation. How do we figure out what goes in the y? What do we do?
Subtract, or put in -3 for
Yeah,
x.
put in -3 for x. So the first one for y equals 10 minus -3 squared plus 3x. Which is 3 times -3, right?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this is a lot of work. 3 times -3. So y equals 10 minus -3 times -3 is positive 9, right? Plus 3 times -3 is a -9. Is that right?
Yeah.
So y equals 1 minus 9. So,
-8.
so the first one is -8. We'll do, I'm gonna give you 2 and then we'll do 0 just because, but you understand the process, right? You
Mhm.
take the equation, you put that in for all the x's and whatever your answer is goes for y. So -2 is 0, I'll let you know. -1 will turn out to be 6. Let's just do 0 because it's fun. Y equals 10
-0.
minus 0
Plus 3. Or plus 0.
plus 0. So 0 turns
That's just
into
-10.
10. Positive 10. Yeah. All right. 1 turns out to be 12. 2 will turn out to be also 12. That's weird. I don't know how that happened, but it does. 3 is 10. 4 is 6. 5 is 0. And 6 is -8. What can we know from this graph without even graphing it yet? We can find our
Y-intercept.
y and x intercepts. Which one is the y-intercept, Cameron? This is something you really got to get good at, is knowing your x-intercept, how to find it, and your y-intercepts from a graph.
6 and 4 and 6 and -1.
So which one is the y? Do you know?
The 6. I'm not 100% sure.
So for intercepts, we're looking for zeros, and there's 3 spots that have one. This one, and this one.
Okay,
So which one is the y-intercept?
the
you know?
0, 10.
it's the one that has a 0 in the x. So 0, 10 is our y-intercept, and that means that we have two x-intercepts, 2, 0 and 5, 0.
That's
Right.
-2.
Oh, was it? Good. All right, so let's graph it. Let's already get started. It looks like you're gonna need to go up to
12.
12 on the positive side and down to at least -8. So I would maybe do, yeah, and then you're gonna need at least 3 on the negative quadrant that way, so maybe do -5 there.
I do ridiculously large charts. Okay.
What was 6?
6 was -8. Beautiful. Just like we predicted, it's a parabola, it's opening down. And do your x and y's line up with what we said they were gonna be?
Yeah.
Good. And I think it said to tell them, so you might wanna write those 2 bits of information to get full credit. That the y-intercepts are this, and the x-intercepts are this. All right, so make sure you write on that hammer and that what your y-intercept and your x-intercepts were, so that you can get full credit. And we will move on to 428, which has to do with domain and range. And functions, kind of like review.
I hate functions.
All right, so doing the function test, look at A. That's a beautiful little graph. Is that a function or not a function? Do you remember what we do?
Oh, vertical.
Yes, the vertical line test. So what do you think?
First one's not a function.
A
No.
is not a function.
No.
So for A, put no. And then it says we have to tell the domain and the range of each graph.
I'm just. I just put the chart backwards. I just realized that.
Alright, 428, no, not a function. And then what does domain measure? You guys remember? This is like a review. We haven't done this in a while. What does domain measure? Domain measures the.
Or no, side to side.
Yeah, I tried to do it like this. There's two ways to remember it. Domain, range. I like to do this too. If I say X, Y, this is alphabetical order. X before Y in the alphabet, D before R in the alphabet. Put them together and you know that domain measures X and range measures Y. If you don't want that way, domain goes this way, range goes that way. Good ways to remember for a test. So they want to know the domain, so they want to know the highest and lowest points on the X. So what is the lowest point on the X?
-2. Or on the X?
On the X.
0.
The lowest, we're gonna measure the graph like this, Nick, from here to here. So the lowest number going this way
-4.
is -3, I think. Mine says -3.
Mine says -3.
You're on 428A.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like another.
So it should be, so it's like.
Oh, A.
Yeah, A, yeah. So
Yeah,
-3,
even 4A. There's like another little dash right there.
huh?
There's like another little dash right there.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, but it stops though, right? The little swoop of the flower stops right on -3. So it's -3, and here's another thing you have to be able to do is to write it. It always looks like this, that whatever X or Y is, it's same for range, same for domain. It's bigger than, and you put the small number on this side, but it's smaller, and then you put the big number on this side. So these little symbols are always facing the same way. That's confusing for some kids. So X and Y go in the middle. These don't change. X has to be bigger than this number, has to be smaller than this number. So what's the highest X can be in this graph?
3.
3. So this is what your domain looks like for that graph. And then for the range, we're gonna measure the up and down part, same thing, we're gonna put Y in the middle, and then it has to be bigger than a number or smaller than a number. So
3.
what's it have to be bigger than?
-3.
Yeah, -3 on the bottom, and it goes all the way up to
3.
3 on the top. So those were exactly the same for that one. So the domain is here, and the range is here. Alright, so I'm only gonna erase this part, because it never changes for graphs. Sometimes you can get rid of a whole section if it like starts and doesn't ever stop on the other side. Alright, what about B? Function or not a function?
Function.
Function, so B, you should say yes. And then let's look at its domain. We're measuring its X value. The smallest X it can be and the biggest X it can be. What is the smallest X it can be? I'm measuring this part.
Like -0.5 or 0.
So you're looking at that little dot, right?
Oh, -2.
-2. So -2, can you see that, Cameron?
Yeah.
Is the smallest it can be. And then if we go over to the biggest that X can be, the largest point
3.
is 3. So your domain should say this. And if you read it, you say X is greater than or equal to -2, but X is smaller than or equal to 3. That describes all the numbers that can be in that graph. Now the range, we're gonna measure the up and down part. So what's the lowest?
-2.
Yeah, so it's Y is greater than or equal to -2, but Y is also
2.
less than or equal to, is it 2?
Yeah.
2. 1, 2, yeah. Alright, so that is that. Now, they want to know what number for 429 can't be part of this function. What do you not want to have on the bottom? If they ever give you a question like this on the test, what do you not want on the bottom? Because it's undefined, no solution.
0.
0. So what can we put in down there to make the bottom be 0?
1.
1 minus 1 would be 0. So X equals 1. So that cannot be part of the function. So X as 1, not part of the domain. So I guess you would write that like X cannot equal 1 maybe. Put a line through your equal sign. Because if it did equal 1, it would be 0 on the bottom, and
What
that's
are we
like a
doing?
math impossibility. 429?
Okay, I got lost.
Okay, so it's asking us what can't be part of the function, and we just talked about the fact that you cannot divide by 0. So you're trying to pick a number that would give you 0 on the bottom, and Nick said that it's 1. If you put a 1 for x, that would give you a 1 minus 1 on the bottom, which is not what we want. So we're gonna write x can't be 1 for the domain, for that one. The last 4 are functions. And I think you guys can do this, and I'll just check your answers. If it's an f of something, you're going to put that number in for the x in the f of x equation. If they're giving you a g, you're going to put it in for the x in the g equation, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, except I kind of forgot how to do these.
So for f of -2, which equation are you going to use, the first one or the second one?
What do you mean? Oh,
So there's 2 equations.
Yeah.
F of x equals 3x minus 9.
I want to do that.
And, well, you don't get a choice. You
Oh.
have to go by. So there's this one,
I
f
wanted
of
that one
x
over.
equals 3x minus 9, and then there's also g of x equals -x squared. That's it. So if they give you an f of something, which one do you have to put it in? You have to put it in the one with the f in it. So when they give you this one, you're going to replace x with -2 and solve.
Okay.
That's going to be the answer for A. If you get a G, you got to put it in the other equation.
Is B4?
Let me look. I don't think I want to double check the answer key just to be 100% safe. 42. What number is it, Mike? 430?
Yeah.
I forgot how to
Ooh,
do it.
it is 4, but it is a.
Positive.
Check your signs.
Because -2 squared is -2 times -2.
So it's the opposite of -2 squared. Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the -2 squared is 4, but then you're doing that negative
Yeah.
sign's following it down. It's the opposite of that. Yeah, that was a tricky one.
Is C0?
C is not 0.
I
What's your question?
forgot how to actually solve these signs.
Oh, wait, no, never mind.
So
I
you're
was
just
definitely
putting in
35.
the first one?
Yeah.
So all you're doing is putting in the -2 for x. So you're going to say 3 times -2 minus 9. So what's 3 times -2? You're just doing the math. 3 times -2 is -6. Minus 9 is, leave change opposite,
Oh yeah.
-15 for the first
Oh,
one. So
okay.
f of A is -15. What did you say, Nick?
Is C -9?
No, let's do C
Oh.
together. So
You
f of x,
3 times 0.
oh, this is weird. Oh, they're giving you the answer. They're saying you're finding x if f of x is the beginning. F of x is like the y, right? So you have
Oh,
to
that
set
makes
it up backwards. 0 equals 3x minus 9.
X is 3.
3x minus 9. So we're going to add 9 to both sides. Yeah, I think you're right, but I have to do it because I'm not that quick. So equals 3x divided by 3. X is 3.
And what is
Okay.
D?
D. Ooh, let's see. Let's do that one together. All letters. So that has to go in this equation, right? The opposite of m squared, right? So it's just -m squared. That's it. Yeah, you're done. You want me to hang on to it, or you
Yeah.
see her today?
I see it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Cameron, what are you?
B. I keep forgetting how to actually solve these stupid things.
So are you on 2 now, B?
Yeah.
So you're putting in
G
-2 squared, like this. So what's -2 times -2?
Positive 4.
4, and then it's the opposite of that, so that one is negative 4.
Oh, okay.
That one's a tricky one because
I
of the negative sign.
feel like
Alright.
D is the only easy one here.
C is they're giving you the answer. See how they said you're trying to find x if f of x is 0. F of x is the beginning of the equation. F of x is kind of like y. So you're going to have to put 0 equals for C because they're giving you the answer of f of x. And then what was the equation? 3x minus 9.
Yeah.
And now you have to solve for x because they said for C, find x if f of x, which is this
So-
part, is 0.
Then I add 9.
Mhm. Add 9 to both sides.
Okay.
And then divide.
These be 3. X equals 3.
Mhm.
So, okay. And then D is easy.
You got D? Yeah, it's just letters, you just gotta plug it in. You can't really solve it because you don't have a number.
So it'd be n squared or
Kind of n squared though.
negative.
Yes.
Yay. Now I'll actually write down
1, 2.